Most of us treat rest like a luxury that we can't afford. We'll rest when the project's finished. We'll rest when the kids are older. We'll rest when work slows down. Maybe we'll rest when the house is clean or the bills are caught up or finally life gets manageable. But here's the brutal truth. The day never comes, all right? There's always one more thing, one more deadline, one more crisis demanding your attention. Meanwhile, you're running on fumes, snapping at your kids, feeling disconnected from your spouse, and wondering why life feels like an endless treadmill of exhaustion, like you're a little hamster on their little spinning wheel. That's what you feel like. And here's what I've learned. If rest isn't systematically built into your life, it simply won't happen. And without rest, burnout isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Today, we're going to explore Sabbath as a system, not just a religious concept, but a practical, life giving framework for building margin, joy, and genuine recovery into every single week. Let's get resting. I'm Micah Loftmiller, and I'm genuinely glad you're here. I'm a husband and a father, probably a lot like you. 5 kids at home, a wife that I absolutely adore, and a life that's been anything but predictable. Over the past decade, I've had to discover through success, through some spectacular failures, and through faith, a set of frameworks for living that actually hold up under pressure instead of falling apart. Systems that provide for my family, creating genuine meaning and preventing total burnout. See, we've just spent several years overseas doing mission work with our whole family. Incredible experience, stretching, exhausting for sure, and definitely life changing. But now we're back. We're rebuilding from scratch, buying a house, establishing new rhythms, and starting over fresh. And this is my mission. I want to help you design a deeply fulfilling life that doesn't leave you ragged, burnt out, and ironically, sacrificing the very people you're working to serve. So, a little recap. In episode 4, we established weekly family planning. If you haven't seen the episode, go check it out. It's really good. We talked about how to design your week proactively instead of just reacting to whatever life throws at you. That framework gives you structure and intentionality. But structure without rest just becomes a grind. Planning without recovery leads to productivity obsession. And systems without Sabbath eventually break down under their own weight. That's why today we need to explore the counterbalance. Rest as a non-negotiable system. This isn't just about adding another item to your to-do list. It's about creating space for your soul to breathe, your family to reconnect, and your perspective to realign with what matters. We're talking about Sabbath as a system, how to make rest not just an afterthought. Everything else is done. We're talking about Sabbath as a system, how to make rest not just an afterthought when everything else is done, but rather the central rhythm around which everything else organizes. Let's start by clarifying what Sabbath really means, because there's a lot of misunderstanding around this concept. Traditionally, Sabbath is a day of rest commanded in the Hebrew scriptures, a 24-hour period set apart from the regular rhythms of work and productivity. You don't do your normal work. But practically speaking, Sabbath is much more than just a day on the calendar. It's a rhythm of intentional rest that refuels you spiritually, physically, emotionally, and relationally. Sabbath isn't laziness. It's not about being unproductive or wasting time. It's strategic rest, deliberately choosing to stop, to delight, to trust, and to renew. And here's the key distinction. Sabbath is active rest, not passive rest. Passive rest is, collapsing on the couch after exhaustion. Whew, I'm done for the day. Or mindlessly scrolling on the phone. Or binge watching your favorite shows until you feel numb and can't remember what time it is. Active rest is intentionally engaging activities that restore your soul. Worship, meaningful conversations, time out in nature, creative play, physical renewal are just some of the options. Sabbath says, I'm going to deliberately stop the endless cycle of doing and achieving. And I'm going to trust that the world won't fall apart if I take a break. I know it's countercultural. Our society says that your worth equals your productivity. Sabbath says your worth is inherent, and rest is not just allowed, it's commanded. The beautiful paradox is this: when you build regular rest into your rhythm, you actually become more effective during your work week. You're more present with your family, and you make better decisions. You have more energy and creativity. Rest isn't the opposite of productivity, it's the foundation of sustainable productivity. And I can attest to that in my own life. Whenever have had really good periods of taking a Sabbath rest, it was the most productive time in my life. Other times, not so much. And definitely led to a lot of snapping at the kids and feeling disconnected from those around me. So it's really good. So you may be thinking, why must rest be systematic? Well, if you're just hoping for rest, it just doesn't work. Something urgent always crowds out what's important. We've talked about before about what's urgent versus what's important. Whatever's urgent will always crowd out what's important. When rest is optional, it always loses the battle to whatever feels pressing in the moment. The laundry pile looks more urgent than your need to breathe deeply. Work emails feel more demanding than your kids' need for your full attention. The endless list of projects screams louder than your soul's cry for renewal. That's exactly why you can't just hope for rest to happen naturally. You have to systematize it. You have to schedule it. You have to put it on the calendar. And then you have to guard it fiercely and treat it as an absolute non negotiable. Think about it. You don't want to wait until you feel like sleeping to go to bed every night, do you? You don't eat only when you remember you're absolutely starving to the point you think you're going to throw up. These are systems, regular rhythms that sustain life, whether you feel like participating or not. Rest needs the same systematic approach. Here's what systematic rest looks like: it's scheduled, okay? It's on the calendar with the same priority as important meetings or appointments, just as if you're that important client work or going to the dentist. Same level of priority, okay? And it's protected. You say no to things that conflict with it, just like you would any other essential commitment. Oh, that person wants you to come hang out? Sorry. Kid's friend's birthday party? Sorry. It's protected, okay? And then it's prepared for. You plan ahead so that the rest time comes. You can actually rest instead of scrambling to make it possible. So, for instance, what we like to do is the day before, we'll all together as a family clean up the house, get everything ready. So my wife, it helps her not feel like she's got to be cleaning um, all the time. And so we all clean up the house. We have a nice special dinner to kick it off. We've already kind of like pre-made meals the next day, super easy things. And since she does most of the meal making on Sabbath, I do most of the meal making because Sabbath is resting from your, excuse me, it's resting from your usual work. Well, I don't usually make the meals. My wife does. So she rests from that and I make them. Okay. So it's just as simple as that. And then last is family wide. Everyone in the household understands and participates. So it's not just one person trying to rest while the chaos continues around them. Now, I know this is very hard to do with younger kids because I'm there right now. And it just takes practice. It takes practice. It takes doing it week in, week out, talking about it leading up to Sabbath. That's what really is helpful about the planning for it and preparing for it, is that the kids know, oh, hey, like the end of today, like tonight, is not the same as usual. Oh, yeah, something's different tomorrow. And then eventually they start realizing, hey, tonight is cleanup night, like whole house cleanup night, not the usual, because tomorrow's Sabbath. Oh man, you know what that means? We get a special dinner tonight, and they start getting excited about it. And there's like, oh, and we get to just like do whatever because mom and dad aren't busy doing other things. And so it's like by the end, they get so excited about it that then by the end of Sabbath day, sometimes they're tired of being around us. which, I mean, it's not really a bad thing if they've been with us all day, and so family wide can be very difficult to do, whether you have little kids or even moody teenagers. But you just get in the habit, you make them do it, and they can see how good it is for them. They will come around and start enjoying it. Because without this systematic approach, rest becomes something you only experience when you're too exhausted to do anything else. And that's not actually restful, that's just collapse. True rest is proactive, not reactive. It prevents burnout rather than just responding to it. So, let me give you a practical framework for building Sabbath into your weekly rhythm. Step one, choose your time window. For some families, traditional Sabbath is 24 hours. That could be Friday evening to Saturday evening, as was originally commanded. It could be Saturday evening to Sunday evening, as a lot of people do nowadays. But don't let tradition become a barrier to starting. Okay. Maybe you can only protect a half a day initially because your schedule's just packed. Okay. It doesn't matter. Just start. Like all these other frameworks, they can mold and shift as you get better. The main goal out of any of these frameworks is to just start using them. And once you start using them, you'll become more comfortable and better at them, and it will get better. All right. So if you're only starting half a day initially, maybe it's just Sunday afternoon into the evening and you go to sleep. Okay. Maybe it's Saturday morning until Saturday afternoon, something like that. What is really the two most important parts is that you start and then you're consistent. Pick a window that works with your family's rhythm and stick with it. That's it. But it's better to have a consistent 6-hour Sabbath than an inconsistent 24-hour one. All right, now step number two. Define what fills and what drains. So sit down as a family and honestly assess. And this could be part of your family planning session. It could be just a conversation around the dinner table, walking around your neighborhood. It doesn't matter. Just, you know, either literally or metaphorically, sit down as a family and honestly assess what activities restore you and what activities deplete you. So here are some that might be filling activities. Okay. Worship, listening to worship music, worshiping in your own style, whatever that looks like. Family meals that aren't rushed, sometimes in the morning it's like, oh, hurry up, we gotta eat breakfast, we gotta go, or oh, we gotta go to this thing this afternoon, or oh, somebody's coming over, or we're gonna go over somewhere late. And you're just like, I'm not even sure what I ate. I know I ate something 'cause I'm not hungry anymore, but I don't remember tasting it. So don't do that. Have meals without rushing. Okay. Nature walks. Now, I'm not saying you gotta like go to the mountains or go to the beach or go anywhere in particular. Okay. It could just be outside your front door. Walk around your neighborhood. If your neighborhood doesn't have sidewalks, find a park or something like within 5 minutes drive. Go to that park and walk around there. Let the kids play. Do something out in nature. At the very worst, go walk outside barefoot on your grass and walk around and run around with the kids and play and stuff. That's great. And the creative play. The creative play could be a little bit of that. It could be playing outside with the kids. It could be make believe inside. I love watching my kids do that and then playing along with them. We've read stuff from Lord of the Rings and Narnia and The Hobbit and Star Wars and all kinds of things. And so they're always make believing something. Okay. They one time they were listening to a book about these rabbits fighting against like all the birds and stuff in the forest. I can't remember. Green Ember, I think is the name of it. And they're like pretending to be these rabbits, like on an adventure. Like that's great. That is restorative and play along with that. It could be some creative play could be on like a console or the computer, depending on what that is and how you're bent to it. My wife, that would not be creative for her. She probably wouldn't like that. She would rather sit down and draw. So you've got to know what's good for you in some of these categories. Creative play being one of them. Board games. We love playing board games. And I'm not talking about your typical Clue, Monopoly. Like, don't get me wrong, we like to play those. But we like to play some other ones. So We play, even with our little kids, we play Settlers of Catan. We even got Settlers of Catan Junior, so we can play with them. We have Ticket to Ride Europe, which is pretty fun. We're about to get the America one. And we have other, you know, I wouldn't say outside the box, but they're not your typical, Hasbro um, board game types of, that most people think of when they see them at the store. And those are really fun because they're really engaging for the brain. They're very unique, and very rarely do things happen the same or close to the same each time. And so it keeps it fun, and it's definitely a filling activity. It could be simple as reading. Maybe you have, and my wife has this to be read list, TBR list. She got it from somebody online. Um, and so when I know we're doing Sabbath well when her to be read list gets shorter and shorter. And that thing's like a mile long. And I'm like, all right, we're doing too much because she hasn't had time to read. That's like her favorite thing to do on Sabbath. Um, and it doesn't have to be super long books. Some of her books are pretty short. Some of them are long. Sometimes it's not reading. Sometimes it's an audiobook while walking. You know, just just give you some ideas. I mean, it could even be a nap. And I'm not talking about you go to sleep and you sleep for 12, 14 hours, or like you're rolling around in bed not getting up. Like, science has proven, even on rest, like Sabbath rest days, that's not good to just not get up. I'm talking about get up, do some things, check things out, whatever's going about your day. And then somewhere around the afternoon, the Spanish are really good at that, about this. Take a little siesta, just go. I find what's really rejuvenating for me actually daily is just go turn all the lights off, all the sound off, put a pillow over my head, and just lay there for 10 minutes in the silence, in the darkness. And now you can just extend that to the weekend. You just go lay down for 30 minutes. Maybe you actually sleep. Maybe it's just getting rid of that sensory input, you know? Who knows? It could be any of those things. It could be, you could also do music if, there's not a good opportunity during the week to listen to music and you really like music. Make sure you incorporate that. And again, it doesn't have to be the same thing every time. Because we don't want this to become some kind of rote, I gotta do this thing, because then it's not restful. Okay, so just whatever like works for you. And if you're like, this song's not so good, I'm not gonna listen to it anymore. That's fine. I mean, we do that all the time anyways, right? And the last one that I particularly like is meaningful conversations. Not just a, hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm good. How are you? Oh, I'm good. How's the kids? They're great. How's the wife? Like, actually like talking about life, and like talking about like dreams and like plans for the future, and like things, like deeper things that actually matter, or like stuff's going, even it could be hard stuff like, oh, this is really hard life thing going on, like whatever, right? um it doesn't matter. Just meaningful for me, meaningful conversations, because the week is usually broken up in such a way where I don't get to do that a lot. So that's what I like to do as a filling activity. But on the other side, there's also draining activities. Draining activities are typically work type related things, like traditional work, like checking your emails, or it could be household projects. Now, this one, household projects, could be a filling activity. If you're someone who enjoys fixing things and taking care of people and things like that, but during the week you don't have time to do that, it could be really enjoyable depending on the household project. Like for me, I don't really want to do a plumbing project. I had to have that happen. We had a water line bust under our house on Mother's Day weekend, and I spent that weekend fixing it. Now, the fixing of the project, the fixing the water line, that was fun and I liked it. I did not like having to do it on Mother's Day weekend, because then it's like for 3 days we didn't have consistent water, because like we could turn water on if we needed to, you know, take a quick shower or something, and then turn it off. And or the kids got dirty. It's like, well, you're gonna stay dirty all day until the end of the day, and then I'll turn the water on a little bit because I didn't want it to leak so much under the house while I was fixing it. So again, household projects could be draining, could be filling. I'm not going to belabor that point anymore. Shopping, I hate shopping. Like, just give me a list. That's why I love all the apps now for the different stores. They're like, you put in the item, you look at it, and it says it's on aisle 5, bay 7. I go to aisle 5, look bay 7, look up, look down, get my thing, and go. I hate walking around. And it's not even like that it crowded or anything. I could be like the only one in like Lowe's or Walmart or anywhere else. I'm just like, I just hate it. Like, because I'm just like, I just rather be at home with my family on my day off, on my rest day. I don't want to be shopping. Okay. I'll do that some other time. Even though I do it other times, I still don't like it. I'd just rather be doing, not walking around looking for something. That's also why I like to have things delivered or ready for pickup. I don't have to go do the looking. Somebody did it for me and I can just get it and go. Other draining activities. This one's big nowadays. Social media. And it depends on how you use it. Social media can be good. Like if you're keeping up with friends and family that's spread out all over the place. But if you are scrolling to see what uh, the Joneses or the Robinsons are doing in the neighborhood or something, or some celebrities up to, and it's not adding value to your life, then it's probably draining. And that's kind of the key to know what's draining and what's filling. Like, is it adding value to your life? Okay, is it adding something to you, or is it like distracting you from what's important or taking away from your quality of life? Okay, other things could be news consumption. Not saying consuming news is bad, but a lot of news is just this, thrill based attention seeking deal because that's how they make their money. And so a lot of times that means it's going to be not so good news. Um, so watch how much you consume. Rushing anywhere. There's I forget the name of the song, but it's by that band Alabama, and it's talking about rushing till life's no fun. Yeah, don't like. There's very few instances where you have to actually rush anywhere. So like, don't rush, especially on Sabbath. Okay, and then, while I had mentioned meaningful conversations, if there's conflict or heavy conversations, like there's certain people I know that if they call me or something on a Sabbath, I'm not answering their call because like it's gonna be some kind of conflict. It may not be like a tough conversation, but like they're just gonna be like bringing that drama and stuff in. I'm like, I don't want none of that. Like today's my rest day, so like I just don't engage with that stuff, right? So these are all things that could be filling, could be draining activities. And it's not about right or wrong. Okay. It's about, as I said, it's about what serves you. It's about what adds value to you. It's about what fills you up versus what like undermines you, what distracts you, what takes away from your family, from your quality of life, from your goals. Okay. So I know that was a long section, a long step, but I just felt like I needed to explain it because some people think there's only a very narrow amount of what filling activities are, and then everything else is draining. I know I was one of those when I first started out. Step 3, prepare for what's ahead. This is crucial. Sabbath requires pre Sabbath preparation. Dun, dun, dun. So, shop for the groceries the day before so you're not running errands. Any other errands, try to do those a day or two before. Prepare simple meals, crockpot recipes, leftovers, or very basic cooking that doesn't create stress. If, like our family, one person usually does all the cooking the other days of the week, then have the other person cook even the simple things on your Sabbath day. It helps out everybody. And again, we're going to handle not just our errands, but other essential chores beforehand so that our space feels peaceful. So, charge devices, turn them off, put them away. Um, you know, plan any logistics, anything you have to do for the following day so that your mind can rest. All right. Either you've got it planned the day before or you're planning to plan after Sabbath time so that you can put to rest at night. Like it's going to get taken care of. It's all good. The goal is to remove barriers that prevent actual rest when Sabbath time actually arrives. Now I know, again, A lot of people don't know how to do this. They've never done it, or they're not good at it. Any number of things, right? It's not about being perfect. All right. It's about getting started. All right. So just start and just try, and you'll get better at it along the way. I tell my kids all the time that when they're learning like to play basketball or soccer or whatever, like, of course you're going to be bad at it. You've never done it, or you've never done it properly. Just keep trying and you'll get better. And lo and behold, they've gotten better at everything that they've kept trying. I mean, go figure. Step 4, you're going to protect it fiercely. So this means you turn off any work notifications, you set auto response if you have to, and you establish family boundaries. Like, we don't do projects on Sabbath time. Like, of course, emergencies are different. All right. So don't come at me with those. Well, what about this? Emergencies are different. All right. We're talking about your usual run of the mill stuff. All right. Say no to social commitments that conflict. And it's easy. Just say, sorry, we have a family commitment during that time. We'd love to be there, but we can't. All right. And make it a household norm that everyone understands and respects. As I said earlier, talk about it with your kids, make them part of it so that they will enjoy it and not just cause more chaos. So what Sabbath actually looks like in practice. Sorry, need some mint tea this morning. Got a little froggy in the throat with the seasons changing. Need to get that fixed up. So I do apologize. But now back to the regular scheduled program. What Sabbath looks like in practice. So I'm going to give you a picture of what it might look like in real life. And so for our family, Sabbath usually includes a slow family breakfast. I don't often eat breakfast. I usually do intermittent fasting where I'll have a little bit of protein in lunch and then an actual meal at dinner or just dinner. But on Sabbath, I have breakfast with everybody, like the whole family together. This could be something fun out of the ordinary, like crepes or French toast, or just a bigger meal than usual because we have more time because we're not rushing. Eggs and bacon and biscuits and gravy, or biscuits and jam or toast, and who knows, just a slower family breakfast that gives so many more opportunities. There's no rushing, the phones are away, it's just conversation and connection. Worship together, that could either be church attendance or family devotion time at home. So what we usually have is my wife, part of homeschool, has some family devotion things that they do every day. And so then on Saturday, we will have some soft worship music in the background, but then we'll have a time of actual like singing together and going over like the stuff from the week. And usually because of me working, my kids are like excited, like, Dad, let me show you what we did in our little, I forget what they call it, but like their little worship journal thing where it's like there's pictures that they look at and color along with as they go through the stories, and so we get to have like some devotion time. And my wife is really good. She knows and she could find it out, but to make sure we all stay connected together on this stuff, she's so good about, if the kids have a question, like, hey, why don't we write that down and we'll ask Dad on our Sabbath day. And so then they come to me and they ask questions and we have some good conversations. Time in nature, I've already mentioned that. So we like to go for walks around the neighborhood pretty regularly. But on the Sabbath days, we try to spend a lot of time outside if the weather permits. Or, if there is a little something cooking that we've got to take care of, at least keep an eye on. Because again, it's Sabbath, so we're doing something special. It doesn't always have to be simple meals. So it could be something a little more elaborate, but out of the ordinary. That's fine too. So what we'll do is we'll just like sit outside with coffee or tea or something and watch the kids play. We'll talk and be taking care of the food inside. But the point is, being outside, even just sitting outside, just does something to you. Assuming your outside is healthy enough to sit outside in. We have lived in places where you go outside for an hour and it's like you smoke 6 cigarettes. So everything obviously comes with a grain of salt. I know I just talked about having elaborate meals, but a lot of times for us, we don't do it every time. These elaborate meals. Most of the time, we have just simple stress-free meals. like crock pot meals that are put on the day before or leftovers from the day before, or I'll do some simple breakfasts, you know, or my wife will give me a list and I'll put everything in the crock pot. That's my contribution to cooking sometimes. It's fine because what we don't really care so much about, how elaborate and fancy the food is. We care more about the rest time together and the family time together. And then creative family time. This can be a little difficult with having very little kids to almost teenagers, because the older ones want to do certain things. If we do it while the little ones are awake, they have a tendency to, destroy and stuff. And so we try to find things that we all can do together, or if it gets messed up, whatever, or at least a time where we're in the same room next to each other doing similar things. So that could be Legos, and usually like 2 or 3 kids will go off somewhere and do a Lego thing. Then I'm with some others doing Lego thing, and my wife with another one doing Lego thing. It could be art projects. I got several kids who love to just sit and color and draw. My wife's really good at that. She likes to do that, so she'll go do that with them while I, the engineer, am building Legos with the other ones. Again, we have that music in the background that sometimes will trigger like things that happen throughout the week that they want to talk about. And then if once the little ones are having their their daily rest time, the youngest one still takes a short nap, but the youngest two, the nap and then another one, they go lay down and rest like every day because their little body's just like they need it. So while they're having their rest time, we'll play a board game. And we try to do that during the week too, but it doesn't happen that often, but we make sure to do it every Sabbath time. And somewhere throughout the day, we have rest for everyone. Like I just said, naps for those who need them, or just quiet time recharging. So, while the other ones are resting, if we're playing board games, there's been times where we just stop in the middle of them, like, hey, your attitude, your emotional regulation, everything, like, you need to go, like, take a rest. We're not done playing. We'll come back, but you need to go rest. I'm gonna go lay down and rest. Sometimes it's like, let's just go snuggle on the couch together and just rest for 20, 30 minutes. It just, some quiet recharge time is never a bad thing. And then an early, peaceful bedtime routine. Sometimes throughout the week, it's just like, oh, we gotta go do this thing and that thing, and it's rushing around, or it's forgetting, dinner's late, and things always happen, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's way past your bedtime. Let's get to bed. All right, so on Sabbath days, there's no rushing. We have extra story time if your throat can stand up to it. Otherwise, get you some good mint tea. Uh, Story time is always fun. My kids have these books they really like called Night Night Mommy and Night Night Daddy. Even the older ones like it. And it's a really funny book of their foxes, and they're hanging out with their mom or dad, and it's like routine going to bed. So we'll usually read that one. It's really good. And we just try to have a calm transition into the start of our next week. Because let's be honest, not every bedtime is nice and calm for anybody. There's always some kid or two that they're fighting with one another, or they just don't want to go to bed, or there's something's going on that does not make it a peaceful bedtime routine. And that's okay. They need to be able to express themselves. But the goal is on Sabbath that throughout the whole day, it's going to be peaceful, and whatever problems they may have been having, they've had time to talk about them, and so that then we can go to bed peacefully. And look, it doesn't have to be perfect, all right? Kids, will still be kids. Sometimes plans have to change. The point isn't perfection, it's intention. Okay, we're working towards perfection, and every week it gets better and better and better. But what matters is intention to get started and to be consistent. It's deliberately creating space for joy, rest, and presence instead of just letting the day happen randomly. One of the most important things you can do as a parent is teach your children that rest isn't laziness, it's wisdom. It's not something you can only do when you're exhausted. It's a regular rhythm that makes life sustainable and joyful. But here's the key: kids learn rest by watching us rest. If they see you constantly stressed out, always checking your phone, unable to sit still without multitasking, they absorb the message that rest is either impossible or irresponsible. Now, I do want to put a caveat here, okay, because there probably will be some of y'all that are a bit like me, and you're ADHD, and so it is very hard to sit still and not fidget around and stuff. That's not quite the same as multitasking, where like you're trying to play a board game, but you're on your phone, or you're trying to talk and you're on your phone, or you're doing this and that at the same time. Um, like if you're always doing that kind of stuff, like that's not gonna send the right message. Okay. And so I've definitely been guilty of that. And it takes some time to get over that, because I know I felt that anxiety that I'm just like, I just pause and take that thought captive. Like, why do I feel so worried about not doing this silly little thing? Like not checking social media or something. Like, what if I don't do it? What harm is it going to cause me? Nothing. It's just because they get you in that loop. And if you're ADHD, you're even more susceptible to that little dopamine loop of always checking your apps. Um, so I'm not judging anybody, because I've done it myself, and it takes hard work to break those habits. Okay, but just think about it. Your kids catch more than what you teach them. Okay, that means they see you and they learn from seeing you more than what they learn by listening to you. So let's be good examples for our kids. Because when they see you deliberately choosing to rest, fully engaging with them during Sabbath time, and modeling joy in simple pleasures, they learn that rest is valuable and necessary. And hey, if that's not easy for you, they also learn what like perseverance looks like, and that like not everything is going to come easy, and that sometimes priorities and things change, which can be a good thing. And it just takes intentionality to go after the thing that you actually want instead of just letting things happen. Okay. So here's how I know I've talked about it before, but here's a little bit more information about how to invite your kids into Sabbath rest. So let's make it interactive and not just restrictive. So instead of just saying no screens, like, and I'm bad about this throughout the whole week, offer compelling alternatives. Okay. Hey, let's go build the biggest Lego city we've ever made. If you've seen on social media, there's this magnet tile tower. That's a tongue twister. That's just taller than me. Now I'm 6'3". Nothing's taller than me. My kids built that, so like you could you could get some cool stuff. All right. So, let's go build the biggest Lego city that we've ever made. It could be the tallest, could be the biggest, could be the most complex, whatever. Let's go build it. Okay. Or who wants to help me make the best pancakes ever? My wife does this all the time. She's like, hey, who wants to be my crepe helper? Somebody wants to be the flipper, or somebody wants to whip up our homemade whipped cream, or because she likes to do that, she'll put some maple syrup in the whipped cream, and it just, I don't know, it just is really good. And then we'll get some frozen fruit and like cook them and reduce them down. It's good. It's good tasting and it's good for you. So she'll ask people what they want to do. And then, sometimes throughout the day, we may, like, if people are kind of sluggish or whatever, and they're just like, I'm bored, we'll say, hey, who wants to have a family dance party? And we actually have a Spotify list that's like 4 family dance parties, just like a bunch of like upbeat, hype, not really hype music, but like it makes you want to get up and dance around. Like, I don't know if I've ever seen my kids listen to more than 2 of those songs and not get up and bounce around unless they're sick, like actually sick. So those are some ways to make it interactive, not restrictive. And then give them ownership. Let them help plan the activities for Sabbath. Like, okay, well, hey, what do you want to do? You get to pick the outside activity, or maybe there's something special we want to watch together, like this Christmas time. Do you want to watch a Christmas movie that we don't usually do, or maybe you let them choose what we have for breakfast. So instead of crepes, maybe it's pancakes or waffles or whatever. Give them ownership, okay? Let them decide, because when they start deciding and seeing that like we're doing the things that they suggested or decided upon, Like they're so much more involved and like willing to do it. I don't think I've seen my kids once be like, we should have pancakes with peanut butter on them for breakfast, and then not want to help make them and be excited. And I mean, they're always excited about it, but like excited to make them and then sit down and be like, I don't want to eat this. It's like, dude, you picked it. Why would you not want to eat it? I've never seen that, because they have that ownership. And then we need to focus on presence over performance, because Sabbath isn't about accomplishing anything really or being super impressive. It's just about being together, being grateful, being still. Now, the kids are learning that. So, like, you know, I like to celebrate them when they make something really awesome, like a really huge Lego city, or they've got this thing now that you can do, like a miniature, like little programmable robot, and they make it do this crazy little course. And so I'll be like, "Good job!" Like I'll like make it a big deal because I mean it is like they're super excited about it. I want to keep fostering the kind of creativity and learning and stuff. But for the adults, and then just your activities, like it doesn't make sense to have a race to see who won the race. And we have to be careful with our board games because some of our kids are very competitive. And if they get smoked, they have a come apart. So there's been times where we start seeing them on Sabbath not enjoying their time and because they're losing really bad, and we just stop playing the game. We don't even finish it, and that's okay. Like because it's not about accomplishing. That's a hard word for me. Anything, okay? It's about being together, being grateful, and being still. So if something doesn't match up for that, just stop. It's okay. Then we also create traditions that they'll remember. Again, we almost always have either crepes or pancakes on Sabbath morning. And then we have a family walk in the same spot every week. And we read this big stack. I'm talking, and when I say big stack, like this sucker's probably at least 2 feet high of books. Some are board books, I understand, for the little kids, but some are a little bit longer. And primarily my wife, because I have this thing, I think my mom did it to me when I was a kid. I'm like conditioned while I'm reading a book to my kids, I will not often fall asleep. So I don't do a lot of the reading out loud, just simply because I literally, without like, it could be 10 o'clock in the morning. I woke up, I've had a cup of coffee, I'm reading a book, and I'm knocked out. Like I don't know why, but my wife, she'll read these books for the kids, and they love it. So we try to do that every Sabbath. There's a big old pile of books. We read throughout the week too, but having a big pile and dedicated time, the kids love that, and they're always asking, like, "Hey, can we add this to our book list, our stack of books, or whatever they want to call it?" And then the last part is just model rest without guilt. We kind of talked about the checking your phone and being multitasking and answering stuff. Okay, let them see you napping without apologizing. Let them see you saying no to work without stress. Show them that rest is not selfish, but it's necessary. Because the goal is raising kids who understand that life has rhythm, that work and rest are both important, that taking care of your soul is as essential as taking care of your body. And I've talked about it before, it comes from the Hebrew scriptures, uh, way back in Genesis. After the 6 days of creation, God rested. Not because he was tired, he's God, he's never tired, but because he was modeling that rhythm for us. Work and rest, engagement and withdrawal, activity and reflection. And then in Exodus, the Sabbath becomes one of the 10 commandments. It's not a suggestion, but a foundational principle for human flourishing. Right alongside, don't murder, and don't steal, don't lie, all those things. It's right alongside that of having Sabbath. That's how important it is. That's how essential rest is to God's design. But then Jesus reframes Sabbath in Mark 2:27. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. See, rest is a gift, not a burden. It's designed to serve you, not enslave you to rigid rules. So when you practice Sabbath as a system, you're aligning with God's created order. You're trusting that the world can function without your constant effort. I know, hard to believe for some of us, but it can. You're declaring that your identity comes from being God's beloved, not from your productivity. This isn't just time management. It's theological living. It's practical faith. It's trusting God with the results while you rest in his love. Here's this week's assignment, all right, for implementing Sabbath. So day 1 to 2, all right, take a couple days. Choose your Sabbath time window. Maybe it's just 4 to 6 hours to start with, okay? It doesn't matter. Just find a window, start somewhere, and put it on the calendar. Then the next 2 days, days 3 and 4, have a family conversation about what fills you versus what drains you during rest time. And make your list together, because you may find out what fills one person drains another. And if that happens and it's something you can't get away from doing, flip it. The person that it fills, let them do it. Even if it's done to 70% of what the person who it drains could do, that's not the point. The point is to do filling activities, all right? So you'd be surprised at what this list can do for you. Then the next 2 days, right before Sabbath, prepare for your Sabbath. Take care of groceries, pay the bills, plan out meals, mow the grass, rake up the leaves, clean the roof, whatever you've got coming up that you know is gonna be nagging you in your brain, get it done. All right. That way you have a guilt-free experience. Okay. And then day 7 obviously is Sabbath day, whatever the day that is. Live your first intentional Sabbath. Just keep it simple, keep it joyful, and keep it guilt-free. Okay. Whether that's 4 hours or 24 hours, it doesn't matter. Okay. Don't aim for perfection. Just aim to get started. Aim for intention to, like, whatever you do, there's reason behind it, because the goal is that rhythm. All right. Not executing it flawlessly, but getting in that rhythm. Okay. After 1 month of consistent Sabbath practice, you'll be amazed at how it transforms not just your rest, but your entire week. All right, guys, that's been episode 5 of Fulfillment Frameworks, your blueprint for life without burnout. Today, we explored what Sabbath really means, why rest must be systematic, our 4-step framework for implementation. If you need that, go rewatch it again or listen to it again. How to include kids, and the theological foundation that makes it all meaningful. Don't forget about your assignment about choosing your time window, define filling versus draining activities, prepare, and then live out your Sabbath. All right, next week in episode 6, we're diving into the 80-20 rule for family life. How to identify the 20% of activities that create 80% of your family's joy and connection, and how to eliminate the busy work that's stealing time from what matters most. Now, I know we've talked about that some before, okay, about your time thieves, but we're going to go into it a little bit more, okay? So if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Share this episode with your spouse, because Sabbath works best when the whole family is committed to the rhythm. All right. If you need some more help, there'll be some links in the show notes in the description down below, where you can get an assessment, get a planner, get other materials that will help you on your road to transform your life with these frameworks. And remember, it isn't about doing more, it's about building the right frameworks. When you do that consistently, you create a deeply fulfilling life, all without the burnout. See you guys in episode 6.